air traffic controller with serious talent in visualizing patterns. After a day at work, he starts to see constellation patterns in front of him. Looking closely, he realizes that the clock has stopped. Dylan comes to the pilots and saves them from crashing by an inch. The passengers inside. The day after he was suspended, he attends the aerial ballet, where he produces himself. They go to a restaurant and start talking. Dylan's at the Howard Pace Art Gallery. He also tells her about being suspended from, but Sarah was instead thankful towards Dylan for saving her life. While on the way to the Grand Central, Dylan notices the same happenings as at the Grand Central station. At 2:21 p.m., he sees a business. At exactly 2:22 p.m., the window of the station shatters. Stopped dancing because of an injury. Dylan feels bad, so to cheer her up, they kiss. They go to Dylan's apartment and make love. Jonas, who happens to be the main artist of the gallery at which she works. In a week's time, Dylan suddenly hears a car crash on the road below his apartment, going to Grand Central. As the driver takes the shorter route, Dylan then shouts for the cab to stop, and this infuriates the cab driver, who turns. Dylan is injured. He goes to the Grand Central station and sees the exact same pattern. And lastly, a pregnant woman stands under the clock. He tells accident. Dylan goes home and starts writing all the events of his day. Dylan goes to the top of his apartment building to see if the pattern repeats itself. Notebook. Surprised, he closes the notebook, and when he opens it, Dylan goes to the gallery looking for Sarah, and realizes that the gallery was having a station, and Dylan sees that it is exactly like the events that he has experienced. Dylan assumes that Jonas is stalking him, as only Dylan knows about. Owner of the Kiefer Gallery, he applauds, saying it was a great idea to enact the murder. Later that day, Dylan texts Sarah to beg for her forgiveness. Upon investigation, Dylan finds out that Jake Redmond lived in his apartment central. Jake Redmond was the murderer. He killed his lover, Evelyn, too. Jake killed Evelyn out of jealousy because Evelyn was in love with the police. In fact, he and Sarah were born on the day Jake and Evelyn died, and visits her home. Dylan meets Evelyn's sister, who tells him that Evelyn officer was in love with Evelyn too. When Dylan gets back home, Evelyn and Noah. Currently it is Dylan, Sarah, and Jonas. Sarah is in the gallery looking at Jonas's holograms. She tells Jonas she sees him distressed and tries to console him. Dylan tells her that since I'm good. After Sarah leaves, Dylan loses control and starts. On the other hand, goes to Jonas's office and tells him everything that happened. The plane and everything that happens in the pattern happened to Jake the day he died. Time's on the way, but she doesn't pick up. So he goes to Jonas's office. He also finds an empty case of a gun and is now sure that Sarah is in danger. Jonas tells Sarah to wait for him under the clock. History is repeating with him because she is in love with Dylan. Agitated, he asks Sarah his way towards Dylan with a gun. Sarah begins to see the same character Dylan said was true. But that also means the pregnant woman under the clock is Sarah. Dylan shields Sarah just in time, but he gets shot at 2:21 p.m. Dylan falls in Sarah's arms and momentarily closes his eyes. He has managed to survive, and fate has changed. We finally get to know that in the past, lying star, Hamlin, mentioned at the start of the movie, finally disappeared. His fear of flying and is now a pilot, and Sarah smiling affectionately at their baby.